the 97th Annual Academy Awards this year is very exciting and also unpredictable. However, I mean, it's probably not as exciting as the Grammy Awards. Well, another one for the Grammy Awards again. But it was still fun with Conan O'Brien hosting the award show this year, and I mean, he did a great job hosting. It was kind of like watching his show and everything you would expect from a show, from like Nick Offerman being the announcer to also like the various unusual like things on his show, like the wormhole from the Dune film series in the orchestra. But I know throughout this award season, apparently like it was going back and forth which films could get awards. At the beginning, Anora was thought to get Best Picture, and then Conclave showed up, and then The Brutalist showed up, and then Emilia Perez started to get a lot of hype, and then Emilia Perez got a lot of controversy, and plus The Brutalist got into a controversy with AI, and then it went back to Anora and Conclave possibly getting Best Picture, and then it ended up being Anora, like getting Best Picture, and also almost sweeping the awards with 5 awards, and almost getting all the awards it was nominated for except for Best Supporting Actor. But this film getting a lot of awards is also does put a say something about that more independent films should be made, and actually this was probably like a big win for independent cinema. And like referencing the theme song of the film, which is a remix of the Take That song, Greatest Day, which Take That was a group that like Robbie Williams was in. Tonight this could be the greatest night of our lives. And it was also a big win, given that somehow that with a lot of blockbusters being released, it's like, maybe make more independent films to bring more people back into theaters, and also when you have enough money, then make that blockbuster. But yeah, I mean, in this case of with independent cinema, it also does reflect the films that apparently got awards. So before we actually go through the list of winners of the Academy Awards this year, I'm probably going to show you my predictions and how many I got correct. And surprisingly, I got almost all the categories right. I only got a few wrong and as I was going through all these categories, I mean, for instance, I actually got almost all the short films correct. Apparently, the only one I got wrong was Best Animated Short Film, which was like a category I usually get right, but apparently, at least I got the other 2 short films right. And then, actually, before I began watching the Academy Awards, that happened this year, I was watching The Substance, and that somehow, after watching it, did lead me to doing some last-minute changes to my predictions, and that's how. If I didn't watch the film, I would have got some more answers correct. But yeah, so let's go through which films got awards. As we we're gonna do this by actually going through all what happened at the Academy Awards this year. So the award show began with a tribute to Los Angeles because, as you probably know, the wildfires that went through the city, especially the Pasadena area, did impact the city. And how they begin is they begin with a montage of scenes in films that would take place in Los Angeles, and then we see Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo from the first half of Wicked apparently singing a few songs, with Ariana singing the famous song from The Wizard of Oz, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which she actually did sing that song actually at a bit of a concert she did after the explosion that happened when she did a concert in Manchester. And and then Cynthia Erivo did a song, and then both of them did the famous song from Wicked, Defying Gravity. And then it goes to the opening where Conan apparently somehow was using the substance. And then he comes out of Elizabeth Sparkle, and then he almost forgot his shoe, so then he had to go back inside Elizabeth and then try to find the shoe, and that was mind-blowing. Also maybe as mind-blowing as the film. And then he does his talks about the films nominated, and he was saying a lot of funny jokes, and then also, he also talked about how he's going to host the award show, and one of the things to do is that if, let's say, someone goes, overtime in their acceptance speech, they would cut to John Lithgow being, unpleasant. And I thought that we were actually going to do that, and there were moments throughout the award show where they actually it would have been brilliant, but somehow they just still cut them short with the music. And if they still go over time, they would cut to the winners early headshot. And then when Conan explains all of that, he shows headshots of Guy Pearce and Zoe Saldana and Timothée Chalamet when he's still in the womb. And to be fair, he also showed a headshot of himself. And then also they're going to also said that he's going to try not to waste their time, and then goes into a song about that, which was very funny. So first they gave Best Supporting Actor, which ended up going to Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, which he was expected to get, and he was great in the film. And I resonate with the character that he plays in the film, Benji, because he kind of recognizes what is happening, and then he probably tries to give respect to what they're actually kind of seeing in the tour. At the same time, he was kind of being like Ronan Roy from Succession. And then apparently during his acceptance speech, apparently he actually said the F word towards his former co-star Jeremy Strong, who you probably know plays Kendall Roy in the show, and after that speech, Jeremy looked pissed, though he probably looks like that. And then also during the acceptance speech, he told the story about that if he gets an Oscar, he would give 4 more children, and well, we'll see if that actually happens. So then after he got the award backstage, he kind of talked about what he kind of learned when he was making A Real Pain.
I feel like whenever I've worked on something important, I end up taking things with me. Sometimes people will say oh, you're a lot like that character. I'm like, I wasn't until I did it, and now I feel like I took something with me. But I'd like to think that I'm a little more together than that guy. I'd like to think that I've figured some stuff out. But I don't, God, that's my terrible answer to your otherwise excellent question.
Then they go to the animated categories. We begin with Best Animated Feature, where it went to Flow, another independent film, which I can also describe it as an art house animated film, because the film apparently has no dialogue, and it resonates kind of with most of the films that got awards this year, which talks about people working together. In this case, you have a cat trying to work with other animals after a flood kind of goes through their land, and then at the same time also kind of resolving their own problems. And this film apparently made a lot of history because it was the first Latvian film to get an Oscar, also the first Latvian film to get Best Animated Feature, and also it's another another independent film getting the award, which and fun fact about the film is that it did get the film was made actually on Blender, which is like a free open source program used for animation. So it was a win for the director of the film, Gintz Zilbud Lotus, and after he got the award, he kind of talked about like how he was very excited getting the award and kind of going to like the reasons why it got the award.
I think you can express a lot more without words. There are some of these emotions and ideas that I couldn't articulate with words, but with music and sound and movement and editing, I think I can say a lot more. And those are my favorite kind of films and favorite scenes, which I think are very cinematic and can transcend cultural boundaries and work across the world and for different ages as well. And yeah, I think it's kind of a universal language that we can all understand. It's cinema is a language, and so we wanted to push it as far as we could.
And then the short film category that I got wrong, which was best animated short film, which I said that Yak was going to get it because it showed that love actually is all around, and it also looked very French as well too, even with the music. But it ended up going to In the Shadow of the Cypress, which is an Iranian animated short film, which does tackle on PSD, which when I initially saw it, I thought that the main person in it had anger management problems, but it appears it was involving a little situation involving with his daughter in the past, and it was well animated, and also it was may not have been shown in its home country because of its censorship restrictions, but so the directors of the short film apparently arrived in Los Angeles just before the Academy Awards this year happened, and the directors of the short film, Shirin Sohani and Hoisin Molayemi, were giving their thoughts about getting the award backstage.
The most important problem is that we are living under sanctions. It's years that we are living under sanctions. Our national currency is devaluating and shrinking every day. The most important thing, I guess, is the economic crisis, the sanctions and the subsequent economic crisis, and also the mental pressure that we suffer, we as Iranians suffer from the economic crisis. Also, there were a lot of problems. For example, I was diagnosed with alopecia universalis disorder, and the subsequent mental pressure and the expenses. Also, there were a lack of, let me say...
can help you.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of Iranian artists left the country because of all the difficulties in our country. And so we had a lot of problems finding, for example, animators for our project. And, we put 6 years and a half to make this animated films, just 20-minute film. But we are here, and it's all those hard years paid off.
So then, the film version of Wicked, which was a great film, and I wonder, even though they could have made it one film, did get 2 awards, including Best Costume Design, where when they announced that category, it was kind of interesting, where the stars of the films around in the category kind of gave their case about why this costume designer should get the award. And for the film version of Wicked, apparently Saturday Night Live's Bowen Yang came in as his character in the film. The other actors could have came in as their characters. Yeah. And when Paul Tazwell, who did the costumes on the film, got the award, he then went on stage, hugged Bowen, and then gave a speech. And in the history of the Academy Awards, he is the first African American man to get the award. The clothes in Wicked were actually really great. Then we go to, and also for the second award that he got, it also got best, production design. Where when that was presented, Ben Stiller was like doing his thing, and like there's something wrong with the lift, and then he like tries to present the award until he eventually gets to announcing who gets the award. The production designers of the film, which were Nathan Crowley and Lee Sandals, apparently were involved with at least the films of Christopher Nolan. Back to Paul Teswell. So here's how he reacted when he got the award after getting it.
This is the pinnacle of my career. I've been designing costumes for over 35 years. Much has been on Broadway and now into film. And the whole way through, there was never a black male designer that I saw that I could follow, that I could see as inspiration. And to realize that that's actually me, it becomes a Wizard of Oz moment. You know, it was like no place like home. So to come back to the inspiration being inside of me is really remarkable.
And then here are some thoughts from the production designers on the first half of the film version of Wicked.
It's because I need to believe. Ever since I was a kid, I have gone to the cinema. I've loved the cinema. I need to fall into big-scale films. Like, I have to be taken away. I want to not know what's going on in the world or anywhere around me. And so I need to achieve scale. To do that, I need to take you away. And if I can take myself away, I can take you away because I'm very fussy. So I know we can do it, and we can do it through, practical methods. But we need to be quiet. If we can get you with us, then we've done our job. So we have to convince you you're in Oz. And I think we did it.
It was like just trying to find Oz. I mean, for me, when I was a kid, like going to the pictures and you see films like Star Wars and The Wizard of Oz, and it was always you were transported to another world. And I think that's what actually made both of us we were inspired when we were kids. Like, what would it feel like, going to somewhere else? And when you build a set, you go through a stage door, and even now, to this day, I walk onto set and I'm still thrilled to be in a completely different place, a different time, and a different mood, and that's what makes the jobs
special.
Really special.
Yeah.
Then they got to the screenplay categories where Amy Poehler presented, and then when Conan introduced her, she made a joke about Amy Poehler being the opposite of joy. The Best Original Screenplay went to Sean Baker for the screenplay of Anora, which is the first of 4 awards that he got. And with Anora, I mean, the dialogue in it is snappy, has that New York type of dialogue, and kind of has the vibes of the films of, let's say, Martin Scorsese and John Cassavetes, and maybe as well the Safety Brothers. He also kind of probably did a lot of research, kind of researching the sex workers trade. And I mean, same with everyone else in the film, which probably had to do their own research as well. Well, for Best Adapted Screenplay, it went to Peter Straughan for the screenplay of Conclave, which is based on a book. And, the dialogue in it was paced very well and also intense, kind of adding with the gossip that surrounds the film. And it was a really great film, and a film that probably is relevant before the U.S. election that happened this year and still relevant after the U.S. election that happened this year.
Well, I was sort of brought up with 70s American cinema, and I think it was never questioned then that something could be an adult drama and still be a success at the box office, and I think we kind of lost that a little bit. But hopefully Conclave goes to prove that you can be a serious or even a funny grown-up drama, and still have an audience at the box office. You know.
Then they get to best makeup and hairstyling, which went to the makeup in The Substance, which after seeing that film, yeah, it was very shocking, and I mean it did deserve getting the award. After that, they went to a tribute to James Bond, because of course, like, the original producers of the James Bond film series apparently got a Lifetime Achievement Award, and recently they gave the creative rights on James Bond to Amazon, which also owns MGM, and apparently Jeff Bezos is probably going to decide who's going to be the next person to play James Bond. And in the tribute, we see a lot of familiar musicians you probably know, and also you see Margaret Qualley, who was in The Substance, playing Sue, doing a little dance number. Then it's followed by Blackpink's Lisa, singing the theme song of Live and Let Die, made by Paul McCartney. And then, although some people were kind of noticing that she was lip syncing during the performance, and as with K-pop, that was probably going to happen. Then Doja Cat showed up singing the theme song of Diamonds Are Forever, and it did have that Shirley Bassey kind of sound, and that was great. And then it ended with Roy, who was a thing last year, singing the theme song of Skyfall, made by Adele, which was one of the best theme songs in the James Bond film series, the other being the theme song of Goldfinger, made by Shirley Bassey. They could have got Adele for it, but I mean, they couldn't get her, but Roy was probably close enough. And that kind of added to like the time of the award show, which they could have added more time to some speeches with them, which were then ended up being cut off, especially when they got to like the awards that the second half of Dune got for best sound, best visual effects, and also a bit during best score when they gave it to the score of The Brutalists. But I mean, what they could have did is they just show like what happened during the Lifetime Achievement Awards ceremony, which they usually did that back then, but some decided to just mention it happened, but not showing any speeches that happened during the actual ceremony. Next, we go to Best Film Editing, where Sean Baker gets his second award, and he directed, wrote, produced, and edited Anora. And in his acceptance speech, he kind of mentioned that apparently the editing contributed to his direction and also for the writing of the film. Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer presented that. So when they get to Best Supporting Actress, the person that got the award last year, which was Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. And when they get to the supporting categories, they kind of do the thing where they would the presenter would tell the audience about the nominations, but what they could have did, and what they did with the lead acting categories, is they would show clips of the performances to show the nominations at their peak in the films that they were nominated in. I mean, but them describing the nominations was kind of sincere too. So Best Supporting Actress, it went to Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez, which, as you probably know, had a lot of controversy. And with her win, she becomes the first American of Dominican Republican descent to actually get the award. And she kind of notes that in her acceptance speech. But after getting the award backstage, apparently she was asked a question about the controversies of the film, and here's what she had to say about that.
First of all, I'm very, very sorry that you and so many Mexicans felt offended. That was never our intention. We spoke and we came from a place of love, and I will stand by that. I don't share your opinion. For me, the heart of this movie was not Mexico. We weren't making a film about a country. We were making a film about 4 women.
Yes.
And these women could have been Russian, could have been Dominican, could have been black from Detroit, could have been from Israel, could have been from Gaza. And these women are still very universal women that are struggling every day at trying to survive systemic oppression and trying to find their most authentic voices. So I will stand by that. But I'm also always open to sit down with all of my Mexican brothers and sisters and with love and respect, having a great conversation on how Emilia could have been done better.
Emilia Perez, which is the film that she got the award for also got Best Original Song for the song in the film that happens in the charity dinner, El Mal. And the music team that made the film, as well as the director of the film, went on stage and they were like, when they actually sang as the music came in, that would be been a perfect moment where they would cut to John Lithgow being unpleasant. And apparently, at the backstage, they would the director of the film, Jacques Arnaud, was asked a question about if he got a lot of awards for his film, he would mention something about the trans gender community, and apparently this is what he said.
Comme je n'ai pas eu le prix du meilleur film ou le prix de Best Director, j'ai pas pu prendre la parole. Mais sinon, je l'aurais prise.
And now to the categories that are probably that I'm probably know a lot about, which is in my field, which is journalism, were the documentary categories. And for the best documentary short subject, it did go to what I think was going to get the award. It was the documentary about Conan O'Brien, who is the first woman to be in the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. That would be the only girl in the orchestra, which is a Netflix documentary. And now Oren's niece, Molly O'Brien, which at Molly's end, Oren would be her only elder, directed the documentary, and she was there to accept the award. And Oren was actually at her current apartment, actually watching the win. And I said this in my in my predictions when I did the live stream, actually a day before the actual award show happened, is that that it did had a really great argument that she was the first female to be in the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, and was also very important in inspiring a lot of musicians.
One of Conan O'Brien's, the star of The Only Girl in the Orchestra's nuggets of wisdom that we were unable to put in the film is, you've given me a great opportunity to quote her now. And she always says, when the going gets rough and the ride is bumpy, stay on the train. If you stay on the train long enough, the landscape changes. And it's true. I can say that personally. You stay on the train long enough, the landscape changes. So stay on the train.
I think we had a sense early on that when we began filming with Oren, that an all-female team would just be a little bit more nuanced, sensitive in a more nuanced way to what we were filming and Oren's journey. Even if Oren was telling us, oh, no, it was not that difficult, but I think those of us who, in a professional way, have really fought to be where we are. So hearing some of Oren's stories from decades before where we are now was, I think it took an all-female team to really hear it in a different way than a team that would maybe have a different makeup.
And then we go to one of the big moments in the award show is Best Documentary, where it did go to No Other Land, which a documentary that documents what is happening on the Gaza Strip. And it involves an activist from the Gaza Strip and a journalist from Israel. And actually during the acceptance speech, they kind of showed that both Israelis and Palestinians are actually involved in the production. And as I said in my predictions, that the documentary is very shocking, and it does show that Israelis and Palestinians can get along. and hopefully the situation there will get resolved. And now apparently they actually didn't go backstage to do a press conference, but it also still at least that I'm aware of, that the documentary has not been released in the United States, or it might be slowly starting to be released, but at least in Canada it was released here, and I think Cinetech might have released it, but hopefully more people will see it, and it's actually very powerful evidence too. So then the award show continued paying tribute to Los Angeles by bringing in the first responders that kind of tried to contain the fires, and they apparently had to read some jokes, including one joke about that they're kind of paying respects to the people in the city that lost their homes. That including the producers of the recent Joker film. And then also they made a joke about Timothée Chalamet, and then there was a joke about Conan O'Brien. And then for Best Live Action Short Film, that went to what I was thinking was going to get the award, I'm Not a Robot, which tackled a manipulation. And it's a Dutch short film, which is kind of a win for them, for the Netherlands. And when they were asked backstage, apparently there was news that there might be a film version of the short film, kind of like what happened with Wes Anderson's first film, Bottle Rocket, which was initially a short film, and then they ended up making the film version after that.
Yeah, well, it's about the same character, and it's set in the same world, in the same universe, because when I finished the short film, I wasn't done with that world. And it's about, this woman going on this journey of self-exploration and finding her autonomy. Yeah.
I mean, and with this film version, maybe they will kind of expand on trying to figure out if the main person in the short film is or is not a robot. So another big moment that happened during the award show was the In Memoriam, where it begins with Morgan Freeman kind of paying tribute to Gene Hackman, who passed away a few days earlier, which I'm aware of might have passed away from a gas leak in his house. And as you also probably know, his wife passed away and one of their dogs passed away as well. And it's still being under investigation, and probably eventually going to find out what led to this unfortunate event. And after that, when they show the other people that passed away in the past year, it was kind of unusual to see with the sound choice they used, which did sound like a funeral music, and also how they arranged the actors and filmmakers that passed away in the past year, and said some weren't even seen as much. For instance, they followed the publicists of the Shrek film series with Shirley Duvall and David Lynch. And also some people noticing that Michelle Trachtenberg, who also passed away a few days earlier, apparently was not in the In Memoriam, although she was in a few films. I mean, she was in Ice Princess and Harriet the Spy, but although she was more involved with TV in the case with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so they'll probably pay tribute to her probably at the Emmy Awards later this year. And then to the Brutalist's other win, and probably one of its other probably important reasons why it gets awards this year, is Best Cinematography. And because the film was filmed on the VistaVision, and yeah, it was seeing the film in theaters in VistaVision was like seeing a film in the 1950s. And if you got a chance to saw it that way in a roadshow presentation, yeah, you experienced something you would have probably actually appreciate. So then, Best International Feature happened, and during that went to No Other Land, which when that happened, everyone in Brazil apparently got excited, which Carnival was happening during that time, and also it was kind of like, you know, if let's say Brazil got the FIFA World Cup. So the person that made the film, Walter Salles, apparently had a connection with the film's main character, and now somehow he kind of presents what he saw around the time the events of the film happened, and didn't see the film yet, but I mean, could have saw it in the theaters, and it was also shown at the Vancouver International Film Festival last year, but I'm going to see it eventually, and I know Conan made a joke about it that said that his wife said it was a feel-good film, I think, but obviously the film is dark because it involves a lawyer apparently trying to prove that her husband was apparently murdered by the government in Brazil at the time the film took place, which was under a dictatorship during that time, and yeah, I mean, for its lead star, Fernanda Torres, I mean, she could have got the award this year. I mean, her mother was nominated in the Academy Awards at one point, but the year that her mother was nominated, she was beaten by Gwyneth Paltrow for Shakespeare in Love.
You know, I think that the film is primarily about loss and how you react to loss and how you overcome loss and how you fight injustice at the end of the day. And this woman had the possibility to bend or to embrace life, and she did embrace life. So at the end of the day, it's a film about that, about the hope that embracing life allows you to have, you know. And maybe that's the way into the film. Another way to understand this is that democracy is becoming so fragile everywhere in the world, you know. I never thought it would be so fragile, even in this country. And therefore, what happened in Brazil in the past feels very close to our present nowadays, you know. And it's been quite extraordinary to see how this woman that I mentioned, Eunice Paiva, she articulates a form of resistance based on affection, based on the idea of smiling when you're meant to be portrayed, you know, as somebody who, how do you say that? Somebody who bent, and she refused to bend. And that may be the way into that, you know. And another thing that I want to say is that this film was seen by 5 million Brazilians. And the Brazilian public somehow became the co-authors of the film. Because what happened in Brazil was actually news in different newspapers in the world, and they realized that, you know, there was a film breaking the barrier of the binary political system in Brazil, and actually offering a reflection of our history. And what happened there?
Then we get to Best Actor, which this was a controversial category because Adrien Brody ends up getting the award, and there were some controversies with him in the film because they used AI to make Laszlo's voice sound authentic. And I mean, if they didn't use AI on his voice, then I mean, it was, and kind of referencing the film, it was intellectually stimulating. But I mean, like when I saw a scene from the film again, apparently the voice kind of sounded a bit wonky, but caused by the AI. And that would mean that Timothée Chalamet got robbed for his portrayal of Bob Dylan in A Completely Unknown, which did upset Club Chalamet. And this would create discussions about whether if Adrien Brody should have got the award, despite with AI being used to make his accent sound accurate. But I mean, it'd be interesting if maybe they release a version of the film without the AI enhancements. But yeah, I mean, like, that got everyone talking. Here are Adrien Brody's thoughts on working on The Brutalist.
Mona Fastvold and Brady Corbet co-wrote a remarkable script and one of vast storytelling and tremendous intimacy and nuance and frailty. So I'm truly grateful for their contribution to cinema and their own bravery, and for believing in me and for giving me an opportunity to be a part of something of such importance and against all odds. This has been a 7-year journey for them, and I'm really grateful to have helped them tell a story of great meaning and for to be included, a part of this very special project. Thank you.
And then we come to the final awards of the award show, which is the big awards. Of course, began with Best Actor, and then the last 3 awards all went to Anora. I mean, with Sean Baker getting the 3rd award for Best Director, and during his acceptance speech, he talked about, and he also did this when he got awards at the Independent Spirit Awards, where he actually talks about the importance of independent cinema with movie theaters, and how that of course being in a movie theater is not the same as being at home, and that independent movie theaters are actually at risk of being closed down, as well as the regular movie theaters. And then he kind of goes on to more about that in detail in his acceptance speech, as well as after the film gets the rest of its awards backstage.
You know, as I said on stage, it's just really feels wonderful that the Academy is recognizing independent film. You know, we, in many ways, we always jump into these projects knowing that we will have to compete with budgets and films that have budgets that are literally almost 100 times what we've shot our film for. And so, you know, when we're actually able to do that, get into the same room as other films such as Wicked, a wonderful movie, but a totally different type of film from ours, it means that we're doing something right. So, and also it's been a great tradition over the last few years of independent films being recognized. And this batch this year is so wonderful. I mean, we feel very aligned with filmmakers of, for example, The Brutalist, you know, Brady and Mona. We feel very aligned with the way that they are making movies, and we're very inspired by them. So for us to be, you know, just in that conversation this year with these other wonderful independents, it means everything.
Then Mikey Madison gets Best Actress for the film, playing the title character, Anora, and she was great in the film too. And then, of course, I actually had to change my prediction for this category at the last minute, because I initially thought that Mikey was going to get it, but then after watching The Substance, and especially with the scene in The Substance where when Elizabeth Sparkle, played by Demi Moore, apparently watches Sue on the TV, it was like where she was kind of like the cat lady from The Simpsons, and pretty much Mikey getting the award was pretty much like what happened in The Substance. Here were some of her thoughts on getting the award backstage.
Well, first of all, thank you for being so sweet these past few months, and I just appreciate you. You've been such a supporter of Anora, so thank you. Oh my gosh, it's for lack of a better word, just incredibly surreal. I never thought anything like this would happen in my life. I love making movies, and I've dreamed of being an actress that would be able to be in a film like Anora my entire career as an actress. And so it's a huge honor, one that I think will soak in later down the line, hopefully. I really did not expect it at all.
And then the night was topped off with Anora getting Best Picture. And kind of want to say a few things about Anora. This might be me repeating myself of what I said in my predictions about the film. Like, I mean, the film is great. I mean, as like with most of the films that are nominated this year, I mean, like, it can be divisive since it involves Russia, and it was snappy and like also kind of like has New York vibes, and also fast paced too, and like at moments the scenes will be punctured with the sex scene, and I put a lot of research was put into the film, and yet even though the ending was beautifully shot, I wasn't not sure if I was happy with the ending, but and yeah, with Anora getting Best Picture, I mean, this kind of summarizes up the entire night that independent cinema is thriving and that more independent films should be made. And then, so in the end, this year's Academy Awards was actually enjoyable and maybe one of the best Academy Awards of all time. For sure not the best Academy Awards of all time, but at least one of them. And I mean, there were a lot of fun moments, and at least it kept me kept me watching the TV, wondering which films are going to get awards. And hey, next year maybe Conan O'Brien will host it again, and or maybe they'll ask Jimmy Kimmel to host again next year. But yeah, so and now with award season done, now another award season begins, and maybe the film that might get Best Picture next year will probably be Bong Joon-ho's next film, Mickey 17. Unless if another film that comes out of nowhere is released in the next few months, and that will get Best Picture. But what do you think of the Academy Awards this year? And do you think it was exciting? And did Anora deserve the awards it got? And was Conan very funny hosting it? You can put your thoughts in the comments, and also like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll probably do more videos about film. And with that, I'm Jason Roshun. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.